All right. Hello and welcome back to another Unicorn Dispatch Live. I'm your host, Bryson Bort, founder and CEO of SCYTHE. I'm joined by another good friend, Josh Mason.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So, Josh, why don't we start with how you and I first met? Because I think it's one of those great hacker stories where it happened at DEF CON.
I was actually thinking about this just the other day. That is a great story, and I want to tell it. But I think I ran into you in an elevator at Wild West Hackin' Fest Way West.
Okay, so that would
In
have
San
been San
Diego.
Diego 2022. I did my annual rant with John Strand. For those of you who love people getting spicy about whatever the latest tech and pulling back covers on the bullshit, John and I actually do that every single year. And the first one was Way West Hackin' Fest. So we ran into an elevator in San Diego, it sounds like. Why don't you? I mean, I don't remember this. So
Yeah, because it was my first conference. I, at that point, felt like nobody. I was there doing resume reviews with Kip Boyle and was wondering the whole time, what am I doing here? Why are they letting me do this? And I saw you in the elevator and was like, oh my God, it's Bryson Bort. And I just said, hey, love what you do. And yeah, it was like, I think we were both going to bed. So no worries there. And then
it was like 8:30 p.m. at night. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. And then later we ran into each other grabbing chicken tenders, I do believe. I think we were both hungry and couldn't wait for them to refill the rest of the food at DEF CON. Everyone else was waiting, and they said, well, we got chicken tenders. And I was like, I'll take chicken tenders. And I think I heard you say the exact same. And I was like, oh, hey, it's Bryson Bort. And I was working with our old friend Ryan Lervik at the time, and introduced myself and got to talk to you for a whole lunch. And yeah, the rest is history.
Yeah, so we sat down and officially met. I'm going to still call that what officially met. I don't think a quick drive-by on an elevator counts. At DEF CON, and we spent the lunch, and that was when it first moved to the Caesar Forum, and it was the first physical DEF CON after it had closed for COVID. So I think it had been a couple of years. And that brings us to today, where Josh is now one of the creators. If you're the sole founder of Nuke Village?
Yeah, I was the one who kicked it off. There's been a lot of helpers along the way, but yeah, I started this and bid once, didn't make it, bid a second time, and finally made it in and got a lot of staff, and now have a ton of staff. But
yeah, so why don't we talk about the origin of Nuke Village? Like, how did you come up with it? What are you trying to do? And congratulations on getting to come back for DEF CON again.
Yeah, thank you. We started because one of my friends, a influencer with a stream on YouTube and Twitch, was at DEF CON the same year that we were both there, and right after the pandemic. And he did a live stream where people asked, should new people go to DEF CON? And his answer, as a old crusty guy, I love him, was no. It's for a lot of folks who have been around for a bit, and it's confusing. And the villages all have a lot of advanced stuff, which is great. But for someone who's brand new, it could probably be overwhelming. And his recommendation was start with a local conference. Knowing that there's so many people who show up to DEF CON, it seemed to me that it was something that we could fix. We could make DEF CON accessible to new people, because there's ICS Village, there's Aerospace Village, there's Red, Blue, Adversary, Social Engineering, etc. And people need to see all the great stuff that's out there. But if they don't even know what the difference between the villages are, if they don't even know what they want to do in cyber, it can be a lot. And so built Nuke Village to be the tutorial, the on-ramp, I like to think of it as like the front desk at a church, for those who have shared trauma with me and grew up going to church. show up, you got kids, you got middle schoolers, you got high schoolers, and some nice person says, oh, you want this? You go over there. You want this? You go over there. You're interested in this? Okay, let me walk you over there. And so that's what we've built out. I'm kind of proud of it.
So what can folks expect to learn if they go? And also, since we have folks here who also already in cybersecurity, how can they help?
Yeah. So for the new people, we've got a bunch of different things planned. There's talk tracks, things for folks who are brand new. What is ICS? Would love to see someone step up with a talk on that. I might reach out to Mike Holcomb. I know he loves speaking on the topic. What should people expect on a SOC? How could I get my first job? Some talks from people who have just completed maybe their first year as a pen tester, as a SOC analyst, or as an incident responder. So that's going to be going on. We're going to have workshops. I've got a few people like Ian Neal, who's going to be there doing a Security Plus workshop for a couple hours, teamed up with Offensive Security and TCM and Hack the Box and a few others who are bringing instructors, bringing SMEs to run some workshops, get hands-on with some of these tools with the people who created them, really spend a couple hours there just learning new person stuff. And then there's going to be a room for just working on stuff and networking. We'll have rounds, and those same partners are going to have their platforms and folks there to help people get a feel. If you're not sure which platform you like, hopefully my plan is that if you're new there, you can see and be like, oh, okay, I kind of like this. Walk over to another one and be like, oh, you know what, this is helpful. Let's play through a few things and have them introduce you to different ways of learning beginner cybersecurity, because there's so many options. It can be overwhelming. So get a little taste here and there, have folks, put together their challenges for you to try out. For those who have been around, we're also going to have an Ask Me Anything booth, kind of a live stream AMA, but IRL in person. And so I've got Meryl Vernon, I think, running that. And she's going to, over the next couple weeks and months, start bugging people and say, hey, you want to do an hour shift or half-hour shift in the AMA booth? We'll put it on Hacker Tracker. And if you want to talk about your experience as a YouTuber, as a pen tester, as a researcher, as a SOC analyst, whatever, and just let people walk up and ask you questions, that'll be something that we'll have run the whole time. There's also a lot of the folks who have been helping people on social media, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, whatnot. A lot of them are on board to be present in the village and helping out. So we've got like Network Chuck and David Bombal, Bearded IT Dad, and I just talked to Marcus Hutchins, ran in him at the end of RSAC, and he said he was going to be there too. So it should be a good time to ask a lot of questions and have a lot of people ready to just answer your questions. They're not working on their thing. A lot of helpful people are already running their own villages, doing their own thing, volunteering here and there. So if a new person just wants to ask questions, we'll have a no stupid questions, a help desk to answer whatever it is you want. How do I find this? Which village should I go to for that? Even how do I work on this CTF problem? Or, what should I do in cyber? Because I'm brand new and I don't even know where to start. Our folks are on board to answer all of those. So, yeah.
Marcus actually just posted a couple of days ago an introduction to industrial control systems video that he did with me at the ICS Village at RSA.
I saw that.
For those of you who don't know, Marcus Hutchins' claim to fame is he was the researcher who stopped the WannaCry ransomware when an outbreak. He found a particular little chink in its armor and poked it and was able to stop the whole thing when it was burning the world to the ground.
Exactly.
So
it's folks like Marcus who are the reason I believe in new people, because he did that not having a job in cyber. He had been running his blog. He had been tearing apart malware as just a kid interested in cool stuff. Literally to me, being a hacker. And knew the right people, got the word out, did the stuff, and helped save the day. So that's why I don't know who's going to be the next Marcus Hutchins to do a thing, but I want them to have a community that's welcoming, as opposed to what a lot of us faced in the 90s, early 2000s, and whatnot.
So for those of you who can't wait until DEF CON in August to break into cybersecurity with all the awesome hands-on activities and talks that Josh and company are lining up at the Noob Village, what can folks do now to break into cybersecurity, man?
The thing I point people to are some of the basics. There's a lot of folks who I've had debates with who say you have to know all the fundamentals. Go get your CCNA, your Network Plus, all those things. I don't necessarily agree with that. However, you're going to have a hard time if you don't know what we're talking about when we say routing, when we say switching, when we say what services are doing this or that or the other, how they're encrypted. And fortunately, there's a lot of great ways to learn that. If you want to learn Linux hands-on real fast, try Hack Me, has a lot of great stuff. Someone else just put out a Linux course, I think Maddie, just this morning. I saw on Instagram put something out. There's a lot of them. And if anyone's got any questions, they can hit me up and I will pull all of the recommendations that I keep in a Google Doc. Try Hack Me, has a lot of great free and low price stuff. There's some drama around that organization right now, but frankly, it does good stuff. You all have put together some great workshops. There's a plethora, in my opinion. But again, it can be overwhelming. So if someone's here listening and they aren't sure where, SCYTHE's workshops, try Hack Me or Hack the Box Academy, or hit me up. And yeah, we'll get you started.
What do you think some of the common mistakes are that folks make, or preconceived notions that are wrong about breaking into cybersecurity?
There's this idea that all of a sudden you'll become famous and rich. And the unfortunate thing is, while there is money in cybersecurity, most of the jobs are, in my opinion, the blue collar of white collar. We need SOC analysts badly. We need help desk badly. And unfortunately, it doesn't pay that great. And people don't want to stay in it super long because it is a lot of shift work. Someone has to be manning help desks or SOCs at night. And it can be laborious. But the joy is that usually isn't the end all for anyone. I know we've both got military backgrounds. I ran a bunch of cyber folks in the Air Force, and they had to do shift work. The joy is, as you learn skills and you promote into leadership and bigger and better things, rather than the diving into every single alert all day long. And so it can be a stepping point. It's what a lot of people who've been around for a while kind of expect. I think that anyone who is able to get the hacker mindset and figure out how this whole networking thing, how this whole job thing works, can network their way into a higher job. But it requires a bit of social engineering, not necessarily malicious social engineering, but connect with someone, be genuinely interested in what they do, get them to know about you, and then show them that you have skills and abilities that they want to hire. I have dozens of people I can think of who have jumped their way past a lot of the entry-level jobs by going to conferences, making blogs, making a couple YouTube videos, not even a lot. about what they've been learning on Try Hack Me or Hack the Box or Under the Wire, or their own, especially recently, building things with AI and blowing it up themselves, putting together a whole paper on it, and get yourself a conference talk at your local conference, and that can help you boost into a job where you're doing the stuff that you really like and getting paid a decent amount. But it's not all glitz and glamour.
In case we didn't quite answer the question, which I thought was what I asked, I'm going to throw this from Jeffrey. What are some common misconceptions? So we talked about the blue collar and the white collar, the SOC analyst. I'll actually. Oh, you got one? Because I was going to have a follow-up.
Yeah. There's this idea that there are tons of jobs available. The unfortunate thing is a lot of the jobs that are out there have requirements that aren't entry level. So it can be very, very difficult to get eyes on you if you don't stand out from everyone else. I think that's one of the misconceptions, that there's tons of these jobs available.
And certainly that has been stressed in the last few years. So for those of you wondering, I thought this was an easy market to get into. Why does it seem like some folks are having a hard time getting jobs? And the layoffs is since 2022, the cost of money, US dollars, changed. And so the ability for the amount of money that was pouring into the sector and investment, that stopped. We no longer had free money pouring in. And as a result, a lot of companies that were able to not necessarily have sustainable business plans were subsidized and able to be getting away with that. And that being said, the cybersecurity market has actually still been growing year on year. It's just, it went from this to kind of a this. And when you get this, it's uneven. So you have some folks doing that inside of that for that average. But follow on to a preconceived notion, which I think everybody always asks when this comes up: what kinds of certs should I get, and or do certs matter?
This is a fun one. I have my own opinion. I don't know that fits everyone's opinion. Certs are as valuable as you make them. So there's this idea, if I get all the certs, I will get a job. I know people who are struggling who do have tons of certs. I know people who don't have certs who are doing great. A lot of it is going to come down to how you use it. Certifications show that you learned something, you took a test on it, and at that point in time, you knew how to make value out of it. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have those skills forever. It doesn't mean that you are the best thing ever. And if everyone else also has the same certs, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're special. So get a cert to learn something. I'm a big fan of Security Plus, in as far as if I know someone has Security Plus, I don't have to do the cyber baby talk to them. I can just start talking about vulnerabilities and ports and exploits without needing to explain what all those things are. Like I'm talking to a family member, my grandmother, who's like, "What is it you do, honey?" If you have Security Plus, I expect, and I've found usually is the case, that we can start talking about what the latest CVE is and why it matters. Now, again, it's got to be what you make of it. If you are Christian Espinoza introduced me to the term paper tiger, someone who has all the certs, has a degree, who looks great, and then when you put them in a use case of, all right, cool, sit down at this terminal and start going through these alerts, triage them, and close them out, and they go, I don't know what this means. I don't know how to use Splunk or Elastic. You go, okay, but you've got your CYSA. Why don't you know how to do this? It's because having the cert doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to do the thing. it means you took the test. So yeah, that's my opinion. You have to be able to prove that you can do things. If you can teach it, that's usually a decent sign that you understand it. If you can make a post or a video or a blog about it, it's usually a good sign that you know the thing. And if you do those and you get it in front of the right person, then it doesn't necessarily matter that you've got it listed on your resume, because someone can pull up YouTube and see you doing the job that they want to pay you for.
We kind of skipped it over in the beginning, and I'm not going to call you honey, but what is it that you do, Josh?
So I currently am a solutions architect at SCYTHE. We are a pen testing firm. I'm on the sales team as the nerd. Some folks call the role a sales engineer. That's what I've been in the past, different companies. And basically, when my salesperson gets in front of the client, I start throwing out some security plus words. And if they go, "Oh, you work at SNAC," then I'm like, "Okay, you're not my person." But if someone goes, "Oh, you work at SYNAC," I'm like, "Okay, let's talk about what you need for pen testing. How many websites do you have? How often are you doing testing? What's your process for remediation?" And we have a whole different conversation than what the other people are having. So that's my day job. I also do consulting, because anyone who's been around for a little bit has people who ask them, "Hey, can you help me with my little business over here?" So do some HIPAA compliance, introduce pen testers, doing an incident response plan for a company that's got 20 people in San Francisco. Actually ran into them when I was at RSA to debrief a tabletop we did. But yeah, that's what I do.
Pen testing. Everybody, it seems like, wants to be a pen tester. They want to get into offense. That sounds cool. So one preconceived notion, that is not a starting job. That is not a breaking into security job on average, right? Your results may
No, not usually. Not usually.
So what does it take to become a pen tester?
It requires, in my opinion, it requires someone who is willing to hit their head against the table over and over and over again until they get a reverse shell. If you know the thing is broken and you know that there's a way in there, you just haven't figured it out yet, and you are willing to just sit down and keep messing with the input field and saying that, like, "Oh, that got me something different. What if I do this? Oh, that got me something different. What if I do this?" Until you have the whole database, then you're made to be a pen tester. If you can do that for an hour and then you go, "No, I'm done," might I suggest sales engineer? That was my road. I realized I can't be a pen tester. I don't have the patience.
By the way, folks at home, several of you have, but if you want to ask your own questions of Josh, throw them in the chat, and I will make sure, if they're a good one, to ask them. I think that's a good segue back to on the career part of the question, and ties into the pen testing with the future mythos drop from Anthropic that everybody has been getting all excited about. I'm a little more sanguine on it if anybody wants my opinion. Artificial intelligence. Should I still get a job in cybersecurity with artificial intelligence looming? Is AI coming and taking all the pen testing jobs? Is AI going to render SNAC bankrupt tomorrow? Should we quit? What do we do here, Josh?
Yeah, no, I laugh because I just had this conversation in our solutions architect meeting like an hour and a half ago. Mythos seems really, really cool. The problem is the same as probably when Metasploit came out and Rapid7 was like, "Hey, everyone buy this cool thing that I made." And it is cool. HD and Chris came up with a great thing, but someone still has to run the tool. Someone has to figure out, does that actually work? And Mythos, while we've heard great things about it, not many people have actually seen it in action. That's some of the things that have been bouncing around our CTO and our product team's chat on Slack. Is it says it does a lot of cool stuff. We they like their RAI agent and what it's able to do. I know you will have some amazing breach and attack. I've seen it in action. Someone's still going to have to validate what it's doing. Someone's going to have to run it and know what they're aiming it at and what they're asking of it. I've got AI, you've got AI. Anyone who has, a few bucks or at least an internet connection has access to a lot of different models and chatbots. A lot comes down to how you use it. And who was it? Terry Green. I interviewed her for my podcast a couple weeks ago, saw her at RSA, and her kind of quippy thing about AI is that you are the intelligence and it's the automation. You really have to know what you're asking for in order to get something quality out of it and know what to do with what it gives you. So I don't think pen testing is dead. It would be, frankly, I think it would be great if we had a tool that could just plug in and show developers what they're doing wrong right off the bat. But a lot of SAST and DAST already exist, and yet we still have bugs in code that are exploitable. So I don't think that that's the solution. I think we're just going to see more code come out. Products are going to go faster, and this is going to be another tool that will help eventually try to make things more secure, which is what we're trying to do. But no, I don't think it's going to end anything. With that, start playing with some AI. I don't know. Grab a couple extra hours on a side job if you need to, so you can, pay for a month of Claude, and go nuts and play with it a little bit. See what you can do. Come up with something unique. Get some tokens and create a tool. Make some automations. And the person who, Jason Haggis actually said this, the person who knows how to use AI to do their job better is going to be more valuable than the person who does it really well on their own already. One of my friends, Wade Wells, we run a podcast together. He's a detection engineer, and a lot of his job over the past couple of years has been taking, new threats in, tearing them apart, trying to figure out, okay, what detection would identify this, and then sending that over to the SOC to implement after testing it out with some atomics. And his job has now completely changed because there's detections.ai. We interviewed the team over there. There's a bunch of AI SOC tools that say that they can create detections. The thing is, unless you've got someone like Wade who knows, okay, this is trash, this is garbage, this is going to give me a ton of more false positives and just add workload, you're not going to get value out of those amazing new agents and AI tools. That's my opinion.
Mine, to pull out one of the things that Josh said there, is AI is going to increase the velocity of code. That is not a commentary on the quality of the code, but there will be a lot more code. And if there's anything you can take away from this space, is more code equals more surface area equals more risk. Which leads to the second part. When you look at the organizational perspective on AI adoption, they're all going, wait a second. So I went through all of this assessment of risk surface area when I brought the cloud into things and I went SASE. Now I have an additional SaaS application that can do things to me wherever I'm going to do it. That sounds like even more risk. And so I agree with Josh that artificial intelligence, like almost anything that there's more of, is going to increase the demand for security personnel. Going back to your comment about breaking into the SOC. So what do you think the ideal pathway into the Security Operations Center is?
The ideal is standing out, meeting someone who runs a SOC and showing them that you are valuable, that you can speak clearly, talk to clients, and talk to the rest of the team. The people I know who have gotten entry-level SOC jobs the fastest are those who I've run into at local conferences, at the Wild West Hacking Fests, the B-Sides, those that they can drive to on a Saturday, and that only costs maybe like $35 to get into. They show up there, someone is at a vendor table for an MSP or MSSP. That's a managed security provider, managed security services provider, and says, hey, I've been working on Splunk's Boss the SOC, and I like this and I like that, and I'm trying out Elastic, and I've done these things. And they go, oh, sounds like you know enough that if I put you in the seat with someone who can show you our method in like the first 90 days, you could start triaging alerts on your own after that. If you show up like that, then you will get a job. Otherwise, the hard way is do all of those things, put them on your resume, and then apply to every possible SOC position that you see under the sun. It's my number one recommendation is get to know people in cybersecurity. The network is going to be way more powerful than your resume on its own. This is from when I was getting out of the Air Force. Had an MBA, had Security Plus, all those great things, and applied to 250 jobs before I stopped counting. And it was the connection on LinkedIn that we weren't even a connection. I sent out a message to a Naval Academy grad who had gotten a job up here in Maryland, and asked if he had any positions on the new job that he had landed. He asked for my resume. Next day, a recruiter called me, and day after that, I had an interview. And then that was my first job out of the Air Force. So, yeah, that's my recommendation.
Switching from SOC, GRC. Is there a different angle of focus if I want to break into GRC, and then I'm going to just lump IAM, Identity Access Management, under GRC?
Yeah, I put those under the same. It's that one's hard to stand out. There are skills that you can practice. There's labs. There's not a lot that you can show your hands-on abilities. So a lot of that is really going to come down to if you want to stand out against those who are applying on the easy apply on LinkedIn, by having people know who you are. If you show up talking about how you've worked with like a small organization implementing M365 single sign-on so that they could access a bunch of different tools, and help them set it up in a way that cleaned up their Entra. That sounds like you're an IAM expert. You might not have been ever paid for it or paid very little, but if you know how to speak talk the talk, walk the walk, that's going to go really far. And again, I'm going to first, if I have an opening, I haven't been in a position where I've had openings, but at least not recently, thank God. But like Bryson, your organization, I imagine when you're looking to hire, you go, okay, who do I know that would be a good fit for this? Let me reach out to them first. And now if I've, hit up all the people that I think would do this or could do this, now we'll start asking others to do the same. And then we'll go to the expensive, painful, long route of recruiters. Is that fairly accurate?
Yeah. So between Grim, which I founded 13 and a half years ago, and SCYTHE, which we launched out of Grim 8 years ago, we probably have hired several hundred folks over that time period between those two companies. I'd say almost all of our interesting positions we hired through referral. We really liked CTFs, which spoke to what we did at Grim in particular, because we were looking for vulnerability researchers and exploit devs, which aligns really well to a CTF. Quick comment on that. A CTF is not real world. So that was something that worked really well for that skill set, but I don't see most CTFs feeding generalized cybersecurity positions really well. So just recognize that, because a lot of people get really excited about CTFs, but they don't quite test enough real world stuff outside of those spaces to do that. And then on the government contracting side of things, that was an area where we would go through the official recruiting routes. And I'll also note that most of the leadership positions I've hired later stage, so executive director level, those actually came through specialized headhunting. So that's one where once you get to that point in your career, you're sort of 15, 20 to 5 years in, it is going to be relationships, and it's also going to be using specialized recruiters essentially as your agents with folks like me.
Yeah, and that's accurate. I'll say at my level, a few times a month, I get hit up by someone asking if I'm interested in this position or that position, and most of them I'm not. But
and also in special circumstances, I have built positions for somebody, right? Where I've met somebody, I'm just like, and they roll around in my head. I'm like, wait a second. If they could come on board, then we could do this. And again, this is a very leadership perspective and ties to a growth startup perspective, because I mean, as the CEO, I get to do that kind of thing. But just keep in mind that these are the kinds of opportunities once you get into it. And my favorite recommendation for breaking in, pick a passion project, go do something. I don't care what it is, come up with a Claude version to create 4D tic-tac-toe, right? Something, it doesn't matter. Something that speaks to you, and then go and share that with others. And you may be surprised what comes back from the community, and be open to the fact that that's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. But if you have something truly interesting and you are learning from it and you are sharing that, it always resonates in my perspective.
Agreed. And I just saw this, as well.
Yeah. So this is, of course, the other great piece on this, right? So is being well-versed in scripting or programming a necessary skill when applying for a cyber career?
In my opinion, no. However, anything that can show that you've got something more valuable than the other person that looks just like you on paper helps. So if you've got projects, that people can go and see, if you've got projects that people talk about, often a lot of those are going to be scripting. And frankly, in the day and age of Claude, learning how to do scripting is really not hard.
Well, I would even call that scripting. That's just better prompt engineering.
True. But if you were to start, create a Python script and be like, I don't know why this isn't working, you could throw it over to Claude. Even if you wanted to go manually, it's not working, I can't figure this out. Throw it over to Claude and be like, hey, help me figure out what I have broken. And you'll get an answer very fast on, oh, this is where you're missing this thing. God, I wish I had that 10 years ago. But rather than just scrolling through VS Code, looking for, the hanging, semicolon or space where there shouldn't be a space. So yeah, you don't have to full on vibe code. Wait until you know how to script and then vibe code. That's my opinion.
So I'm going to separate the two. Programming, almost nobody in cybersecurity actually knows how to program. Harsh fact. As a guy who leads an entire development team and built an entire M-Plan framework from scratch, one of the things I designed in my the SCYTHE platform originally was I wanted it to be modular, because I wanted red teamers to be able to go, oh, well, I really want to do Mimikatz like this, or I really want to do a Telnet exfil like this, right? It gave you that flexibility, and I wanted that built into the program. And it was fascinating to me because I was like, I designed that in C, and I discovered no red teamers can program in C. The number in the entire world is 0, 100% 0. And so I was like, oh, well, that modularity didn't work. So over time, we actually came up with a custom in-memory Python interpreter. This is one of our patents, so that folks could then do modules in Python. And that was a bridge too far, because almost no red teamers can even program in Python. So to getting to a nuance here, nobody in cybersecurity, your results may vary, but as a rule, can program. So what you can find is you get folks who can do scripts. Well, what's the difference? A program is a real thing. A script is a couple of commands more for convenience. Pull from data from here, do some transform, push something there, like at best. So very few people can program. and only a slightly larger number, learning COBOL. Good luck with that. That will be job security if you can ever do it, but you're going to have to wait for the 70-year-old engineer who's the only person in that entire company to do it to die before the job opens. But yes, that kind of thing has a longevity. Scripting, it isn't necessary per se, but you are going to find it makes you better, more lethal in your position. The way I always joke about it is automation just gets you there faster. Well, what is scripting? Is the ability to take these things, and I'm not dissing COBOL, David, relax, but by all means, kill it, right? It's only here because nobody can kill the dragon. My parents are COBOL programmers. Wow. I didn't know that this was going to take this kind of turn.
It's one weird place.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens. It gets into a weird place. So scripting is going to make you better. It's going to be well, I want the tool to do this. It doesn't quite do that. I want to be able to integrate it with that. I can do that on my own. So saying it's necessary is one thing, but the same way that Josh answered with the certs, your results may vary, right? You're going to get more out of it. You're going to be able to do more with it. And certainly there are going to be some jobs where that is going to help you stand out. And particularly in something like GRC, that is going to be a huge differentiator. And by the way, GRC is where most of the jobs are, right? SOC analyst is number 2. GRC is number 1. There is more GRC than there ever is security. It's a pyramid, and GRC is the bottom. So you ever want to break in, that would be my recommendation for a starting point.
I'm with you. Also, you don't need a cert to go do a checklist. Do you guys have this thing? Show me proof. Do you have this thing? Show me proof. Do you have this thing? Show me proof. I don't need to know what any of those mean. I just need to get those.
Well, you do actually. I mean,
it helps. It does certainly streamline the whole process.
Red flag on the field, Josh. Not quite that low level. You do need to be able to understand what the question is asking. You do need to be able to understand
I know a lot of
evidence is that. And a good
CPAs.
GRC analyst or auditor is able to work with the folks to say, hey, I understand how that meets the requirement, even if it isn't the letter of the law. That's a good auditor. Everybody loves those folks.
Very much so.
So
and everyone remembers
requirement when becoming a SOC analyst.
Ooh. If you have some familiarity with the tooling that they use in a SOC, be it Elastic or MQL, which Microsoft, I believe, uses, or using Splunk, you can get Elastic, you can spin it up, and you can get Splunk and spin it up for free and play with it. Let's Defend, Try Hack Me. Actually, I think Let's Defend is now part of Hack the Box. So Hack the Box Academy, Try Hack Me, they both have Blue Team modules to show you how to look things up. The other fundamentals, knowing what services are supposed to be running. How can you look at network logs? Do you know your way around the special tools in Windows that show you what's going on that no one else knows? Do you know some PowerShell? PowerShell is amazing. Do you know Velociraptor? Do you know how to do a little bit of memory forensics, not at the digital forensics level, but can you see what services were running recently and see if any of them say something like SCYTHE's, automated attack tool?
All right. So you wrote a book.
Yeah, it's wild. Two. One inspired by the Phoenix Project and the fact that there's a lot of people in cybersecurity who don't know how to bring valuable information to the rest of the company. That though a lot of us in cybersecurity are seen as the department of no, the department of give us money and we will make life harder for you. And a lot of that comes down to a translation problem, that we allow ourselves to look like that because we don't know how to talk to the business the way the business is run. Bryson, you run a business. You've run several businesses, so you know what all of the pieces are, what the goal is, and how your departments are, part of the mission. But I imagine there are people at different levels who hone in on their one task. And that often happens a lot in cybersecurity. We must make things secure. We must, destroy all the vulnerabilities, get all of the alerts cleared out, clean up all of the admin issues. The unfortunate thing is us becoming 100% secure is not always the goal of the business and is not always what's needed of our positions. And so I created Speak Security with a Business Accent, because we do need to speak about cybersecurity, but we need to do it in a way that the business understands what we're doing. And then on the other end of it, created with Pact the Cybersecurity Beginner's Guide, because they're both in the chat below and on screen, both on Amazon. And I've created the Cybersecurity Beginner's Guide because there's a lot of people who don't understand what it is we do in cyber, what's available, what all the different jobs are, and how you can get started in a useful way. I found myself repeating a lot of these same answers for years now. And I imagine, Bryson, you've heard a lot of the same questions and answered a lot with, nuances as technology and the field has changed. But frankly, how much of it has truly changed? Know what an IP is, know what a port is, know what a service is, and know why they need to be protected. And you're already on a good standing. You're moving forward. So break that down into terms that people know. It is not a book to help you pass an exam. It is not a book that's going to get you a certification. Instead, if you have someone who is interested in cybersecurity, because like me, when I was 14, someone said, "Hey, you can be a pilot." And I want to do that. What do? I knew nothing about flying. It took me another 8 years before I got in a cockpit. A pilot training cockpit. And if we could hand someone a book that, gets them some of the steps and gets them the confidence to open up a terminal and run a few commands and start feeling like a hacker at whatever age they are, I think that's a win. Then they can go from there into, okay, now I've done the exercises in this book. I'm very interested. I want to do this job. I want to be like this person. And they start, jumping into the training and wanting to get a cert or go get a certain degree because they think it'll help them, because they think it's cool. Awesome. That was the goal of that one. And yeah, I've gotten good feedback, so I'm real happy.
With the rise of artificial intelligence and entry-level roles in cyber going extinct, I don't know that they're going extinct, but certainly there is a lot of discussion around artificial intelligence is eating the bottom of the market. And at Unicon last week, Carolyn Wong, who was our keynote, her discussion on artificial intelligence, she also spoke to this and how the trust area is moving. How do newcomers embrace this roadblock or challenge?
Find out what AI can do and do that. Find out how to use the AI.
Find out what artificial copy the machine. Is that what you're really saying?
No, go the step beyond. If this is going to take the entry level jobs, this is the same thing that we saw when, frankly, when it went from HBSS to really good SOC tools, and then from there to SOAR. Like, SOAR is going to put all these like tier 3 analysts out of a job because it'll just automate a lot of the alerts. Well, a little bit of it did. And then it just made other things now what the responsibilities of the tier 3s. Your entry level SOC analyst now just has more complicated things to learn. So that's probably at best what's going to happen is it will take care of a lot of the boring jobs that you didn't want to do anyways. Hopefully it cleans up detections. Hopefully it clears false positives. Hopefully it mops up the things that you were wasting your time on, so you can get to doing valuable things in the first place. That's what I imagine it's going to do. Rather than fully replace people, it's just going to make the work that you do possibly more valuable, especially if you know how to use the AI. So if you are playing around with Splunk, playing around with Elastic, ask your AI how to create a scenario, how to, do some breach detection areas against your own virtual machine, so that then you can look them up forensically, set off some alerts, and go play with things.
For those of you who are wondering how to do that for the price of free, which is always the best price, Atomic Red Team by Red Canary is my personal favorite for getting started with generating attack simulation at home. Just make sure you're doing it on a VM and not on your personal computer. Back to that basic knowledge, I can't tell you how many times I've seen that happen when I teach a class. Someone is detonating malware on their machine, not on the virtual machine. Always do it on the virtual machine.
Yep. And if you're curious how to do that, I can point you to videos I made a long time ago that are really poor quality, or there's better videos by Network Chuck or John Hammond or Jason Haddix or Marcus, or there's a ton of people who made videos on how to open and create and run your own virtual machine to blow it up all the time without affecting your own computer. Because I've done that too. I've bricked a laptop because, yeah, we all do stupid things sometimes. So, go get yourself a VM, write about it, record your screen while you're going through it, and throw it on YouTube. And it might be poor quality, but someday you might point people to it and be like, see, you can make a virtual machine as well. Oh, yes, lovely Macharlie. Another great one, EDR for your home lab. Been there, Ed. So Atomic Red Team is a bunch of tools made by, a tool with a bunch of modules made by Red Canary to emulate attacks. And it does a great job of that. Unfortunately, it does it really well sometimes.
What else would you like to inform the audience of, and closing this out? Your final thoughts.
Yeah. This one is near and dear to my heart. There's two things. As you learn skills, as you develop in your cybersecurity career, find ways to pay forward what other people have shared with you. What I'm doing is built off the backs of folks just a few steps or a little bit ahead of me. Even there are folks with a lot of gray hair that came before Bryson. There's folks who are beyond me and towards our new folks, and they're helping out. All of this is passed along knowledge, and be part of that chain. When you learn something, find someone who you can train it and teach it to. Find someone who needs a little bit of help and help them out, because that's truly going to help you out. So pay it forward and be part of the community. And then the other one is make sure that you know how you are affecting the business, the organization. Why are we even doing this? Are we just trying to make security, trying to do a cool thing, try to make some money? Or are you part of an organization and being part of their mission and their goals? Because if you're going to be part of that, it changes your mentality of what are we trying to achieve here? I don't just necessarily need to make everything the most secure. I need to make it the safest way to do what the organization needs. And those two things are not always the same. And if you do the first one, you're going to run into a lot of pain and it's going to be hard. If you do the second one and you can explain how what you're doing is for the benefit of the organization based off of the organization's mission goals and the language that they use, and they tell you there's like all these meetings with CEOs and marketing, the website, all say what the organization cares about. Use those words, social engineer your way to, hey, we are trying to do this for our customers. Well, there's this vulnerability that could affect our customers and our ability to do that. I want to make sure that we're doing the best that we can. And in order to do that, need to implement this, that, and the other. Can we do that? And it just sounds a lot better. You put a little bit of sugar on things and it really helps you become more effective. So those are my two: help people and learn how to put things in terms of what the business speaks. says.
I love both of those, and that is a pattern that I continue to preach as well. So, Josh, thank you for closing out and sharing all of your thoughts on how to break into cybersecurity here today on Unicorn Dispatch Live. Good news for the rest of you. We will be back on the 27th of April, and it will be in the morning. So your Monday morning on April 27th will be with Priyanka and me. So you can start off the week with some good fun, and Priyanka is going to win the award for the furthest guest calling in all the way from the other side of the world to join us then. Until then, my friends, stay safe.